WHISKERUM, the bedtime edition. Once upon a time, a fluffy, bright-eyed kitten hatched from an egg. Her tail was very short. She had very soft ears that curled in just so at the tips, and quite a pink nose with a small gray smudge on the right side. Most of her fur was clear summer sky blue, and silver dapples shone down her back. Let's back this bedtime story up a titch, my love, because the kitten had actually been fully awake, peeping eyes wide for 11 days inside the egg before the official hatch. Growing inside an egg's wet and goopy. It's called alluvial fluid, but goopy's easier to remember, yes? Cuddle in tight, sweet Joan. Do you have Bun? There she is. Cuddle her in. The kitten could make out shapes and hear sounds beyond the shell. Whooshing, chirping, and humming. Slate shadows and screechy, scratchy noises loomed very close sometimes. When those unfamiliar sounds lurked, the kitten would hold her breath and sit tight in the middle of the egg until quiet returned. One day there was a buzzing, and something zipped around and up and down inside the egg. Her eyes followed the busy flit and forthing shadows. Suddenly, her paw sprang and claws flew, kisht, pipping the shell, making a little tear. The kitten gawked at her claws. Bright light and cool air shot in through the crack. She squinted, inhaling a sweetness, grass, sunlight, and river-crisp air. Everything smelled the same in the shell, so the kitten hadn't noticed that sense yet. Fresh dimension launched. Her paw had never sprung, and sharp claws? All new. Curiosity clambered, energy fizzed, her head jerked back, and she nearly toppled over. That's funny, Joan giggled into Bun. That night, the kitten had her first dream. So many firsts! In it, a creature with triangular forms on either side of its head leaned against her egg. Whatever it was, knocked, then circled the egg on all fours. It was strange and familiar. You know how dreams do that. Next, it sprung onto the egg, on her egg. She gasped, jumped up, and bashed the top with a bap and a crick. Violet glitter swirled. There was a faint burbling, and whatever had been there, was gone. The kitten startled awake. It was dark, but not typical egg dark. There was more space, air. Looking straight up, she noticed a salmon pink and gold light unfurling way over there. She bapped and cracked the top clear off the shell in her sleep. Transfixed by the slow swelling dazzle of rose fanning into an ochre, cantaloupe, and delicate mauve, the kitten simply forgot to breathe. The sky shrugged into midnight blue, navy, then royal with the rhythm of butter melting on low. Black flecks rose as one, squawking to the skies, pulsing to the cicada's trill. A breeze tickled her nose, and this kitten sneezed twice. She squashed the last little itch twinkle with her silky paw. The first few days, the kitten soaked up everything from the cozy safety of her shell. Green-yellow grass against her jaggedy half-eggshell, a twisty arbutus. There were stretches and smatters of purple pansies, red tulips, yellow daffodils, and pale wood anemones. She also noticed a wet tuft of black, brown, and white fur snagged onto a bit of shell. A strawberry bush strung saw-toothed blue-green leaves with heart-shaped berries, sweet scent eclipsing all, between two ancient oaks, not to mention the lazy chubby bumblebees, loop-de-looping amidst the blooms. I like to call them bumblepeas, Joan confided quietly, peering up at her grandmother, Nan. Pardon? Bumblepeas? My goodness! Why, my love? 'Cause they peed on Mama once. No! Yes! Joan squealed, brown eyes dazzling, nodding into Nan's face. They did last summer when she was checking the hive. They did. On her head? No, Nan, that's gross. Joan squealed and sprang up, pressing her forehead into her grandmother's. With a low voice she proclaimed, Nan, this is serious. 3 bumblepeas peed on Mama's arm. Joan gave a little forehead push like a period, then slid back under the covers, slick, shining eyes latched onto Nan. Well, fancy that. I'll still call them bumblebees. That's okay, Nan. Shall I go on? Yes, please, Nan Bumblepeas. Joan cracked up into Bun-Bun. Nan glanced at the clock. 7:45 p.m. Joan's normal lights-off was 7 p.m. The kittens tucked in just so, ears unfurled after about a week, straining to capture every sound. The dandelion poppy's seeds chattered, parachuting on the whistling wind. A blade of grass strained, catching a single raindrop as a pudgy rain cloud hurried off. Everything made sounds except her. She was silent as a blanket at a picnic. "Who are you?" inquired a bumblebee. The kitten gaped, backing up the smidge the shell allowed, oblivious to her fur spiking along the spine. Her paw yearned to bat the bee, so she held it down with the other. "My name is Six, because I have 6 eyes, not 5. You only have 2, the bumblebee, yes, Nan, observed. The kitten said nothing. "Your name is?" The kitten glanced to the top of the arbutus just behind the 2 oaks, unsure. "Let's call you," Six followed her gaze, "Leaf. Lee, for short." The kitten, now Lee, did not reply. "Okay, bye, Lee. See you later. Good chat." Six zoomed off to inspect a scarlet peony. Lee started to follow Six. With a couple of good shoves, the shell split down the side. She edged onto the grass, tripped and donked flat on her face. In this graceless pose, Lee perceived a faint, familiar burbling, babbling. "I could teach a kitty to walk." Joan hopped on her duvet on hands and knees. "It's just a 1 at a time and a 1 at a time," she sang. "You would have been a great help. I love staying up late when you're here, Nan." "Aw, so do I, Blossom, but it's really late now." Nan settled Joan back under the covers. "Do you have to go tomorrow?" "Yes, Mama will be back tomorrow from up north. When you're a little older, we'll go away, just us." Joan's eyes nearly popped out of her head. "Really?" "Yes. Now, you must be quiet if you want to hear this story." "Okay, shh." Lee got the hang of walking and bee-lined to the strawberry bush. Tentatively tapping a berry, her claw tips turned red. And the smell? Like hearing your most favorite song for the very first time. She took a bite. Warmth unwound at the back of her throat. Lee's sandpaper tongue wrapped around the berry and explored the smooth seeds and the thin skin that gave to the juicy flesh. A thrill shot through Lee, plumping her soul. Taste. She remained remarkably still, settling into the rapture of flavor, focus twisted in with bliss. Day by day, Lee wandered a little further, always returning to her slowly disintegrating shell. One nippy pre-dawn morning, Lee followed the burbling, babbling, growing louder and louder, leading her to a rushing stream flowing from snow-capped mountains. The water swooshed, folding over itself, alive. 5 slightly submerged, glossy, flat stones formed a path to the other side. Lee reached out to touch the stream and nearly screamed. Now, kittens don't yell, as you know, but that's how chilly-willy it was, my girl. "Nan," Joan interrupted. "Joan, kittens don't come from eggs. They come from out of the mama kitty's vagina." "Well, most kittens, yes. Not this kitten." "Tombs down the street's kitty Francine had 14 kittens out her vagina." "Really?" "Yes, but that was not what I wanted to say. What I wanted to say is that maybe kittens that hatch from eggs can scream." Nan considered Joan and her humming, sleepy glee, then glanced at the rabbit clock. That is an excellent point. But Lee couldn't scream. "Does the river get dizzy?" Joan. "Okay, dizzy river." Lee visited the stream and stones every day after that, exploring different routes. Her nose guided her to leaves, plants, and some bugs along the way. Now she could dangle her whole paw in the sun-sparkled current, no problem. Sometimes Six would drop by to chat. "Only eat things that smell good to you," advised Six. "Things that smell bad make you feel bad." One summer afternoon, Lee was half-napping by the stream, tucked under a few blackberry boughs, beside a massive rhubarb, when she heard buzz, zow, chirp, yahoo! Lee sat up, scanning and sniffing to pinpoint the source, and what do you think she saw? Me? No, but good guess. The queen bumblebee? No. A brachiosaur. Joan tumbled into a yawn. Nan suppressed her own yawn, eyes to the ceiling. No, but if you keep guessing, you might never find out. I love you, Nan. Thank you, Joan. That's always nice to hear. I love you, too. Now, let's continue. Standing on one foot on the third stone in the middle of the rushing torrent, balanced a fluffy black and brown creature with a white head, about the same size as Lee, with a very long, twitchy tail. He vaulted into the air to the next stone. "Oh, yeah! Boom! Almost, Captain!" Lee broke out in a sweat. Smelling like dirt, moonlight, and buttercups, and strange familiar, he'd be on her side in 2 jumps. Fast, loud, electric, landing on the wet, polished stone, he skittered to the edge and, sploosh, slipped into the stream. Lee's got to save him. Joan, enough. Grandpa one went in the water and didn't come back. That's why we have Grandpa too, right? We have to save him. Nan's shoulders tensed, and she pulled her arms around Joan, chuckling. Oh, yes, you remember everything. But this, my love, is just a story, a bedtime story, because you, my girl, need to go to sleep. Lee can save him, then make peppermint tea with honey and orange slices with sprinkles. It's good for you magic, don't you know? Nan studied her, eyebrow cocked. Joan placed her index finger in her mouth and nuzzled over. Lee scrambled to the edge, heart racing, peering into the water. Suddenly, one soggy paw emerged, then another. She backed away from the stream, eyes bolted to the creature. Sopping wet, he hauled himself onto the grass, spewed a gush of water, flipped onto his back, and collapsed in a fit of laughter. Lee froze, then sneezed. His head snapped up and he spotted her. Hopping with a half-spin, he cheered, "Hello! How are you?" With his front paws planted, he lifted his back paws in the air. "Pretty great, right? Better than my swimming any day," he admitted, turning back upright. "Mo, pleasure to meet you." He picked a rhubarb leaf, folded it into a hat, and extended it to Lee. She remained agog. He shrugged his shoulders and placed it on his head, wobbling it around with a grin. "What's your name? Where did you come from? You look like me." Lee just stared. Mo sat back on his haunches. "Do you know we look the same? Have you visited the Seeing Water?" Lee shook her head. "Ah, you do understand me. The Seeing Water's amazing. I could show you. It's okay if not. It's close." She gave a slight nod. With that, he bounded off along the stream's edge, waving her on with a dripping paw. "I look like him?" Lee followed gingerly. Mo was speedy and jumpy, but kept circling back to check she was still following. Lee noted yummy-smelling things to investigate upon her return home. Mo was lying on his belly, staring into a big, still pond that smelled of leaves and vanilla. "Come see." Lee eased down to the earth, wriggled to the edge, then propped herself up and looked into the water. She could see his face reflected, but beside him, what was that? Lee turned to Mo. "That's me. That's you," he explained. Beside him, Lee saw a fluffy, wide-faced, bright-eyed blue kitten with a very pink nose and a gray smudge. "That's us. We're so fierce-looking and fantastic, don't you think?" he blurted. Lee inched closer to her reflection, closer even still, closer, until her tiny nose dipped into the water, triggering rings that rippled to the edge. Carefully sampling the sounds, she uttered, "Lee." "Excuse me?" Mo asked. She turned to him, then back to the reflection. Lee. She repeated her first sound, but found herself blindsided by the scent of strawberries nearby. Getting up, Lee scanned the area, sniffing. "What you doing, Lee?" Mo inquired, following her gaze. He gave a good sniff, but didn't pick up anything. Lee tracked, body crouched, eyes narrowed, mouth slightly open, seeking, then hooking and pursuing her mark beyond the fuchsia azaleas. "Lee!" Mo raced after her, launching himself into the bush, almost landing on her. "Oof!" Mo sputtered, straightening himself, and noticed Lee. "Oh, don't touch those!" he warned, yelping as she took a big bite of the most fragrant, plump strawberry. Her face, mouth, and nose were smeared red. Lee sat back, chewing slowly, drawing her tongue along the fruit, exploring the rough side and the meaty softness, sinking into the joy of taste. Then she turned to Mo and offered him a bite. He shook his head, hackles up, but the warmth in her eyes sparked a wondering. Mo approached the berry, tipped his head close to the no-touch'ems, as he called them, and inhaled. His fuzzy nostrils cheered. Mo stuck out his rough, pale tongue and licked the berry. Then, zap! He bolted in the air. "Zowie, I'm in!" After lots and lots and lots of berries, the two lolled about. Contented quiet fed something new in Lee, stuffing her with happy belonging. "This is nice. This is new," confessed Mo. "I just talk and scream and sing and run and jump and flip. I only stop to sleep." They faced each other, berry messy, pupils wide, and then, "No kissing," Joan grizzled sleepily. "Shh, Joan, they're not going to kiss." "Sounds like kissing time to me." "Shh, you must go to sleep. No kissing, Joan." Mo and Lee sat together, berry messy, pupils wide, bobbing in content. Dozy post-feast, they glanced at one another, slowly, slowly, ever so slowly. Their heads drew close. Their whiskers brushed. Tremulous purrs unleashed in a galloping crescendo poised to engulf them both. "What?" screeched Mo, purring, jolting eyes blaring. The purr pinned them down. Lee crouched and hissed. They backed away from each other, Mo like a sprite, Lee like a turtle. Still the mighty velvet tidal wave thundered outside, inside, around, and through them. Their bones shivered and warmed, minds shocked and blown. Lee tried to escape the purr, moving her head left and right. At first, Mo's tail twitched a blur of speed. He hopped around like he was on fire, trying to quash the sound, this scorched flare of pristine connection. Lee felt off balance, catapulted into this intensity. She couldn't quite catch her breath. There were too many new things, too much, too fast, too unknown. She needed to go home right now. Home, now. As quick as a slow-moving kitten might flee, Lee fled. No goodbye, no stop to explore what she'd tracked. A week later, Lee was still hunkered down at home, but her mind and heart, they wandered all the time with Mo. She relived him emerging from the stream, soggy as a sponge at the bottom of the sea, laughing, joyous depth, a feral, astonishing galaxy of emotions gripped Lee. Connection coursed. Lee untangled the tuft of fur from one of the last egg shards and smelled it. It was him. This tuft, that dream, that knocking, it was all Mo. Lee stirred, head half off a mushroom pillow, the last of the eggshell tangled in her fur. A glimpse of that dream again, long twitchy tail snapping from sight. That sound vibration, thunder drenched in moonlight and buttercups, Mo calling her name. Lee curled up, savoring the leftovers a little longer. She pressed the tuft of fur to her nose, inhaling deeply. What's more, she woke up purring. This time, Lee sat in the purr, let it fill her. As she purred, Mo's face and hat surfaced, placing paws on the ground, lifting his legs way, way up. Pretty great, right? Her heart lunged as it faded. The sun shone brighter that day, the bumblebees extra buzzy. Lee got up and put on her new fascinator, a fancy hat she'd styled with a last bit of eggshell with Mo's fur pushed through a hole on the side. Lee made for the seeing water first. Six extended a hello as she passed, but Lee didn't notice. She needed to latch onto one buttercup petal, a single moonlight scent speck along the path, to track him. Lee picked up her pace to a slow kind of trot. Joan snored like a kitten choking on a teat, twisting snuffles, grunts, and empty gulps. Nan studied Joan. Bless. Probably for the best. The next part's hard to fairy tale up. Nan eased off the bed, but Joan's hand scuttled and grabbed her arm, not quite asleep. Okay, sweet girl, just for you. It's been such a long time. The seeing water was still, waiting, wet leaves and vanilla scent muted. Lee took a deep sniff. Nothing. Well, not nothing, but not Mo. She took another huge swig of an inhale and focused all her might. Toe beans and very short tail. Nothing. Well, not nothing, but not Mo. Flummoxed, she stumbled. She did say a bad word, then slouched toward home. As she trudged, crestfallen, Lee heard light babbling, burbling. Lee set course for the stream, the blackberry boughs, the glossy stones. Of course, the sound scattered crumbs, fishing line tugging just a titch. The rhubarb leaf hat was out of place on the third stone in the stream. The water was not rushing that day. Lee started to purr so quietly she didn't even notice, hushed like sleeping baby bumblebees, bumblepeas. The stones were dry. They weren't pretty that way. The hat would smell like Mo. Then she could find him, return his hat, and stay with him this time. He must have been in quite a rush, that ocean-wide smile, that galaxy. Lee's purr expanded, enveloping her, the pool, the forest, as she approached the edge. The sun shone too bright. The water was not rushing that day, and the cicadas deafening. Lee squinted, gingerly stepping onto the first stone, regaining balance, then moving to the second. Almost reaching the hat, a little more, tippy, not quite. Lee retracted her paw to regain her balance, glanced into the water, then back to the stone. But her eye caught something down there. Her gaze snapped back to the water, deep in the clear water that wasn't rushing that day. It was hard to make out what she was looking at. Dark green and brown weeds and black something. What was that? She peered closer. Then she saw him. Nan turned to Joan. "Joan?" she whispered to check. "Let's finish it then." Lee's purr, the one that enveloped everything, surged to a glorious roar. What's he doing? Is he catching fish? Lee marveled at how good he was at holding his breath. He was so good at so many things she could never do. Look at him holding his breath just like that. She couldn't wait to tell him how proud she was when he pulled himself up onto the shore like that other time. Just like that other time. She watched him down there in the river for hours. While Lee was staring, her fur spiked all over. While Lee was staring, her body made a tight, scratchy, strangled groan, stenching of dead flies, scraping her insides hard. The fascinator felt tight on her head. Lee's body knew first. The fascinator felt so tight on her head. Mo was not coming back up. The fascinator felt very tight on her head. The second darkness snatched her view. She needed home. Lee shuffled home. The tight fascinator was all she could feel. "Well," Nan muttered, wiping a tear from her neck, something like that. She wrapped her hand around the back of her neck, fingers massaging just above the hairline for a moment, smoothing her hair. Then Nan kissed Joan's slack, rosy face and left the room, keeping the door ajar. 10 minutes later, Nan returned with a mug and a plate. She sidled in beside her granddaughter, slowly sipping peppermint tea. Nan eyed the orange segments with rainbow sprinkles, gazing at her granddaughter. "Makes your body and heart better every time, don't you know? Bless. You are perfection, my precious girl," she muses. gently pinching and popping a pig in her mouth.